I remember in my first jobs, I don't know why I did this, but I would go and find out who the MD was or the CEO, and I'd knock on the door and introduce myself. I think when I look around my office, what I'm expecting is for people to make themselves seen and heard.
Hi Duncan.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you some questions about your path. So what led you to found Tab?
It's a long story of how I got to Tab. That spent some time, I guess the first qualification I ever got in my life was to become a mortgage broker. Right. So I became qualified to give mortgage advice when mortgages became regulated. And I think the answer to your question is real estate. I've always been interested in property. So over sort of all the business ideas I've had and things I've looked at, one thing I always come back to is property and real estate. It fascinates me. I like the fact that it's been here for many years before I arrived, and all being well will still be here for many years after I'm gone. So it's kind of custodian of property, if you like.
I totally get that.
So that's something that really interests me. And then I guess at an early age, I started to think, well, it makes sense that you could buy this for X, spend Y, and it would be worth something in the future. But then if you... Tangible, yeah. And logical.
Yeah.
So... okay, that makes sense. How would you go about it? What would you do? Use a mixture of debt and equity, and there's kind of a number of different ways to pull these things off. So I think all of the businesses that I'm invested in and most of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis are around property. And after a couple of decades in the property world, I've sort of made loads of friends. And having sold my previous business, I definitely took a step back and thought, what do I want to do with my life? And it took me a while to kind of figure out that actually I really enjoy what I did before. I'm really good at it. My network is around real estate and specifically finance, property finance, mortgages, bridging finance, that sort of thing. So I said I wasn't going to do it again. And now here I am 8 years into Tab, very much enjoying it. I think it's a huge opportunity. Things evolve so quickly. It's just important to keep your eyes and ears open.
Totally get it. Property is one of my passions. My father was a builder. Okay. He built 42 houses.
Okay, wow.
The tangible thing I really recognise, because you can go down a road in Brentwood and he's built a couple of houses there, and it's a real legacy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, totally understand that. So, Duncan, leadership.
Yes.
What kind of leader are you?
I like to lead by example. Actually, I'm the first person in every day, but I also like to be the first person to leave every day. So I've got 4 children, as we've discussed off camera, and I like to spend sort of one-to-one time with my kids, as well as I'm taking 4 out in one go is a handful, to say the least. So, that's how I've set my life up. I'm up super early every day. I like to lead by example. I've done every single job in the business, obviously, because when I started again from scratch, there was just one of me or 2 of us. And so there's nothing I wouldn't do myself. Happy to have any conversation. I think another thing I would say is that I feel strongly the buck stops with me. So I definitely am not a finger pointer. There's no blame game. I like to take all the responsibility, because ultimately it is my responsibility. If somebody does something stupid, then that's my fault.
Must be a reason.
Yeah. If lack of training or lack of understanding or giving the wrong person the wrong thing to do. And I certainly haven't cracked it, I can promise you that. Learning every day, as we were talking about before, and try to strike a balance of being firm but fair. So, what we do is complex and big numbers, and a lot's riding on it. So we have to be sharp and focused. So just try to, I think, be myself. Really important. I'm the same person in the office as I am at home.
And has that leadership way of working always been like that? Or is it, obviously you've learned on the job, but are there parts of that have evolved over time?
I think a lot has evolved, but I've definitely kind of gained more confidence to be more and more authentic. So I'm not one to kind of read a book and learn something new about what I should be doing in the future. I'm definitely still sort of learning on the job.
Yeah.
And
Do you read books?
I listen to a lot of books. I'm in the car a lot. So I listen to stuff. And I think I've less so got kind of one or two role models, and more I like to absorb as much as I can and hope that there's kind of little bits I can take along this kind of path to improve along the journey.
And what would you say your staff think of you?
I think they probably...
Good and bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting interview question, isn't it? What would your friends say about you? What would your colleagues say about you? I think maybe fair and ambitious. So I'm not sure, actually. It's not a question I've thought about much recently.
Does it bother you what they would say?
No.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't bother me.
No.
I mean,
No.
In the best possible way, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. I'm very, very content. I'm not... I certainly don't think I've cracked it, and everybody... I like to be a leader. So I would like to think my staff would want to follow me.
And have you had some that have followed you in different companies?
Yes, I have actually. In fact, our business now, I've got kind of 4 or 5 key people from my previous firm. But I've also faced some things through the last few years that I haven't had before in my career, like turnover of staff, senior management team. It's not easy.
No,
I think people think I'm good at this part of the job and therefore I'm going to go and start on my own, and there's a million things going on when you're running a company, hiring, firing, office, rental, furniture, finance, legal, regulation, a lot of things that are, I would say, distractions from the core product.
And strategy.
I think I learned very, very, very early on. Somebody said to me, and I didn't understand it at the time, I went to see somebody, my Uncle Martin actually, and he said to me, surround yourself with good people. And I was like, okay, yeah, but can you give me any sort of tips? And he said, surround yourself with good people.
Wise words.
Yeah, and it's true, because you need people to come on the journey with you. You can't do it all on your own. I don't want to do it all on my own. I want to take people on the journey with me.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. So what do you think are the most important qualities to be a successful CEO?
I think just being aware of what's going on. So I think it's super important to listen. Again, 2 ears, one mouth.
Yeah,
and I think when you're the CEO, and I've seen it before, I think people tend to want to be the loudest voice in the room. I think it's a really difficult quality, but a really important one, to shut up and listen. You can't learn anything from speaking. Yeah, you just hear yourself.
Agree. How do you deal with stress if things don't go to plan? How do you deal with that stress? Are you a sports person?
I don't really get stressed, to be honest.
That's really good.
I think I've talked about this before, but I think if you say the word anxiety to people, it sounds like a big negative, fat negative. It's like, oh, anxiety. To me, I've always seen anxiety as a positive. So if you get butterflies in your stomach before you go on stage, that's a good thing.
Or something
Because it's important to you and you want to do well. And I think there's a kind of this mood in my generation is kind of to avoid anxiety and to treat yourself for it and to take yourself away from it. And I think the skill is to embrace it and to understand, why do you feel that way and how can I use this to my advantage? So I think stress is a good thing. It means something's important, that you care, that you want to succeed. So I thrive on it.
So let's move on to technology and innovation. So Tab uses AI?
Tab does use AI. So when I started Tab, one of the first employees I hired was in technology. I think for whatever reason, and it genuinely baffles me, financial services lags behind on technology. You would think with, it's just such a good use case for technology and automation and now AI, you would think that big banks, big tech, big financial services would go hand in hand with each other. The reality is, I think there's, lots of legacy businesses where things have worked. Banking systems are genuinely archaic and they've been leveled up with, I'm sure know this better than I do. And I think there is an unbelievably good opportunity to embrace technology, use it to your advantage. I mean, the big win for us is, I think as a business, it's access to real-time information. So people talk about data. For us as a business, for me as a leader, and having done this with and without tech, I think you can convince yourself that you know what's going on in your business. You tend to see one or two things and you think that's a pattern. And what I've learned is the data doesn't lie, the numbers don't lie. So take steps. So for us, it's about collecting data and trying to understand it. So we use Power BI. And I'm looking at a number of data points in a kind of easy to digest, real-time way, where in the past I would have had to wait for my board meeting to know what my loan book was at the end of last month. Yeah. And that's fine. That was normal at the time. But now I was on a plane yesterday. I was on the Wi-Fi. I was looking at the stats. I'm up to date with the business. I don't need to phone anybody and check in. I don't hear one or two opinions and think I know what's going on. I can take a broad view of the business and try to help.
You can make the right decisions quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. So how has your definition of success evolved? I mean, obviously you've bought and sold. Yeah. And maybe at the beginning, you had different motivations than you do now. But what does success look like for you now?
I mean, I've got an unbelievably high bar for where I think I can go. I think it's really, really interesting. I'm one of these people that's happy to set the bar ridiculously high and be happy if I only get halfway there. Yeah. And I think their tendency is not to set the bar too high because you don't want to fail and you don't want to miss out. On the other hand, I feel extremely successful. I get to spend loads of time with my kids. I was in Dubai working just yesterday and the day before, and it doesn't feel like work to me. So to me, that's success. I have a happy and healthy family. I've, genuinely everything that I ever sort of dreamed of. So being aware of that, I think, is super important. And I think there's a fine line between ambition and greed. And for me, I feel content, but I also am almost dissatisfied with how far we've got, but in a good way, because I feel the opportunity is vast and I'm in this to win, not to sort of be okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask me, you're far too young to retire, but would you ever contemplate it?
I contemplated it. Yeah, I definitely contemplated it. When I sold my first business, I felt like I'd won the lottery a little bit.
Did you?
Money showed up in my bank account, and when you're younger, or probably even now, lots of people in the pub will say, well, what would you do if you won the lottery? And I think what I thought I would do is different to what I decided to do. I mean, when I sold my business, I rented a service. I left on Friday and rented a serviced office on Monday, and I had a small desk in a serviced office, and I go on holiday. I never turn my phone off in my life, and I could if I wanted to. I didn't need to be in Dubai up at 8 o'clock in the morning presenting. I could hand it over to my team, but I genuinely enjoy it. I don't imagine I will retire as in not have any work to do, but I would like to make my work more meaningful and more interesting. And I think if I woke up one day and thought I really don't like this anymore, I'm not happy, I promise you I would do something different.
So future state,
yes.
If you were a slightly young person coming into the workforce today, what would you advise them to look at, be like?
I think there's been a lot of chatter about the kind of millennials and whatever the comes after that. It's kind of, I'm in my 40s, but for kind of me and older generations say, oh, they don't know what it's like and they don't know. What I've learned is that that's a bit of nonsense. And there are young people who have drive and desire. I think it's very, very difficult. What I've learned is very difficult to teach people. Yeah. So you can't just take two people and mould them into what you want. You'll soon find out if somebody really wants it. So got a guy who works for me. He's very young. He's there every day. He's the first person there every day. He's up early. He's figuring it out. I think it's less about what you say and more about what you do. So just try to encourage people to be the best version of themselves, and also we talked about this before, but take yourself out your comfort zone.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, barge your way into a conversation. I remember in my first jobs, I don't know why I did this, but I would go and find out who the MD was or the CEO, and I'd knock on the door and introduce myself.
100%.
And I think when I look around my office, what I'm expecting is for people to make themselves seen and heard. And what I would encourage people to do is say, can I sit in that meeting? And it wouldn't, and they don't, so it'd be like, yeah, come in, bring your notepad, take notes, ask questions. No question's a silly question. You can't be expected to be young and have it all figured out. So I'd encourage people to get on with it. I think the other thing is no question is a silly question.
Right, absolutely.
And I face it, and I've been doing the same thing for pretty much 20 years. I still find things every day that I haven't seen before. And I think it's a skill to say, good question, I don't know the answer, let me go away and find out.
Yeah.
And I think people have a tendency to make stuff up and sort of blag their way through it and hope that they don't get found out. And I'd say there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know.
No, absolutely. So the last question here, who's inspiring you right now? Could be a person, could be a podcaster.
I think my kids, actually. Yeah, I think seeing them figuring out the world and seeing their sort of innocent questions, they are inspiring me more than... Yeah, I think, look, I think I have a lot of respect for people who are at the very top of their game. I know how difficult it is to be consistent myself.
Yeah.
So
it takes effort, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes effort. Consistency is a skill that I think a lot of people lack. It's very easy to get motivated for a couple of days or weeks or months, but to be consistent for a number of years is extremely difficult. So seeing like more Rory McIlroy win the finally to win at Augusta and to have the kind of full set over trying for 20 years, you have to take your hat off. And others who are at the top of their game and have stayed there for a long period of time, I definitely aspire to be that consistent. But as I said earlier, it's kind of just taking bits from everywhere and trying to use them to my advantage.
Right, well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For sitting here and talking
useful.
to me. Yeah, it was
Hope
brilliant.
You enjoyed it.
Really
good
enjoyed
to
it.
meet you. Thanks so much for having me.
It was a brilliant conversation. Thank you.
Good.
It was wonderful speaking to Duncan, and I really enjoyed hearing the qualities that he thought was needed to be a successful CEO. Definitely lead by example was something he did. Being very fair to his team, partners, and everyone involved in the business, and the importance of listening. So you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. I very much agreed with Duncan's advice for young people early in their career. Make yourself known within the company. So no question is a silly question. Introduce yourself to the CEO. They don't bite. Introduce yourself to other people. And just embed yourself in the company. Ask to join meetings. They may not be your team, but you'll learn something at every single meeting you go to.